Welcome to our channel where we dive deep into the fascinating world of coin collecting, rare finds, and hidden treasures that might be sitting right in your pocket change without you even realizing it. And today we are going to talk about one of the most surprising and intriguing coins that has captured the attention of collectors, dealers, and treasure hunters alike, the 1978 1-cent coin, which under the right conditions and with the right kinds of errors can be worth as much as $500,000. A staggering figure for something so small and ordinary looking, but as you will discover throughout this in-depth journey, the reasons behind its extraordinary value are rooted in the errors, mistakes, and peculiarities of the minting process, the conditions of preservation, and the growing demand from collectors who are willing to pay life-changing sums of money for a coin that most people would overlook without a second thought. So let us begin by unraveling why the 1978 penny has become so valuable in certain rare instances, and why knowing the details can turn an ordinary search into the discovery of a lifetime. Because unlike regular coins that pass from hand to hand unnoticed, error coins tell a story of human oversight, machine misalignment, planchet imperfections, and minting anomalies that create a one-of-a-kind piece no machine can reproduce again in exactly the same way. And it is this combination of rarity, uniqueness, and collector passion that turns a 1-cent piece into something that can fetch $500,000 at auction. Now, when talking about the 1978 penny, we must first consider that it was struck at the Denver Mint, marked with a D mint mark beneath the date on the obverse side, and that year saw millions of pennies produced as part of the regular circulation needs of the United States economy. So the vast majority of these coins are only worth face value or perhaps a few cents more if they are in uncirculated condition. But within that massive production run there are always anomalies, coins that slip past quality control with mistakes that could range from minor to dramatic, and these errors become the heartbeat of the numismatic world because they transform something common into something that collectors can argue over, chase after, and ultimately pay extreme prices to own, for the allure is not in the penny itself but in the accident that makes it different. One of the key categories of errors for the 1978 penny involves double die strikes, a fascinating minting mishap that occurs when the coin's design is impressed twice at slightly different angles, creating doubling effects that can be seen with the naked eye or under magnification. And in the case of the 1978 penny, some specimens have shown doubling on the date, on the word Liberty, or on the motto, In God We Trust. And this doubling transforms the coin from being a penny worth 1 cent into something collectors might pay thousands for depending on the clarity, rarity, and demand. But when combined with additional unique factors such as pristine condition, rarity of survival, and historical interest, certain examples could reach astronomical values. And this is how the chain of value builds, from error to rarity to desirability. Another fascinating possibility that makes the 1978 penny valuable is off-center striking, where the coin blank or planchet was not properly aligned with the dies during the striking process, resulting in part of the design being shifted off the edge of the coin, and the degree of off-center determines the value. With mild misalignments worth modest premiums but dramatic 50% or more off-center strikes that still retain a visible date and mid-mark commanding huge sums, because collectors want both the mistake and the ability to confirm its origin, and in rare cases an off-center strike combined with other anomalies such as clipped planchets or die cracks creates a unique specimen that can skyrocket in value, sometimes reaching into the hundreds of thousands if buyers are competing for ownership. Similarly, wrong planchet errors play a massive role in elevating the value of certain pennies, and for the 1978 1 cent this could mean being struck on a foreign coin planchet, a dime planchet, or even a transitional metal blank, creating a coin that is not only visually unusual but compositionally different, and such mistakes are so rare that collectors are willing to pay small fortunes for them. Because they are essentially minting miracles that should not exist, and whenever something should not exist but does, its value multiplies. The possibility of a 1978 penny struck on a 40% silver planchet or on an experimental blank instantly turns it into a numismatic treasure, and stories of collectors discovering such coins in circulation decades after they were minted continue to inspire new generations to check their pocket change carefully. But beyond the specific era categories, the condition of the coin also plays a decisive role in its ultimate worth. because collectors chase after pristine examples graded by professional grading services, and a 1978 penny with a dramatic error in mint state condition is a combination that can fetch sums far beyond what the average person could ever expect. And this is why you often hear of coins selling for hundreds of thousands of dollars, because the market rewards not just rarity but also preservation, and when those two intersect, the price climbs to seemingly impossible heights. Many people wonder why a collector would spend $500,000 on a penny, but the truth lies in the psychology of collecting, where rarity, competition, and passion converge, and for some collectors, owning the best, rarest, or most unusual specimen is not about the money spent but about the legacy of ownership, the bragging rights, and the deep sense of accomplishment that comes from adding an irreplaceable piece to a collection. And the 1978 penny with spectacular errors provides exactly that opportunity, which is why auctions have seen such coins soar in value. In addition to major errors, there are also varieties that can enhance value, such as small die chips that create extra elements in the design, cuds where part of the die has broken away leaving a blank area on the coin, or repunched mint marks where the D mint mark was struck more than once in slightly different positions. And collectors who specialize in varieties seek these out with the same enthusiasm as those chasing larger errors, because each piece tells a unique story about the minting process in 1978, a time when the technology was advanced but still prone to human error, making these mistakes possible. What makes the idea of a $500,000 penny so captivating is the possibility that anyone could stumble upon one in their change jar, piggy bank, or inherited coin collection, because while the odds are slim, history has proven time and again that rare coins do surface unexpectedly, and the stories of ordinary people finding extraordinary treasures fuel the dream that keeps the hunt alive. So every time you pick up a 1978 penny, it is worth pausing, examining carefully, and considering the possibility that you might be holding something far more valuable than 1 cent, something that could change your financial situation overnight. The market for rare coins is also influenced by timing, trends, and the growing global demand for tangible assets, so as more people enter the hobby and awareness spreads through platforms like YouTube, TikTok, and online auctions, the competition for rare errors increases, driving prices higher. And this means that coins like the 1978 penny with spectacular mistakes can reach levels of value that previous generations of collectors could never have imagined, making it not only a hobby but an investment frontier as well. To fully grasp why this coin can be worth $500,000, one must imagine the convergence of factors: the presence of a dramatic mint error, the preservation of the coin in exceptional condition, the certification and authentication by trusted grading companies, the timing of its sale in a hot market, and the passion of collectors bidding against one another. And when all these align, the final price realized can indeed be $500,000 or more, and this is what makes the search so thrilling. Even minor details can matter, such as small variations in the color of the copper surface, the sharpness of Lincoln's portrait, or the strength of the strike, because specialists look for the finest details to separate an ordinary error coin from a truly exceptional one, and this level of scrutiny is what elevates values into the six-figure range. It is also worth considering that the history of the Lincoln cent, introduced in 1909 and still in production, adds to the appeal, because every decade carries its own stories, its own minting quirks, and its own collector following. So when a coin like the 1978 penny is discovered with monumental errors, it becomes part of a larger narrative that links generations of collectors together in the shared pursuit of rarity, knowledge, and discovery. The idea that a penny could be worth $500,000 is not just about the number itself but about the wonder it inspires, the dream it represents, and the reminder that treasures are still out there waiting to be found. And it is this sense of possibility that keeps collectors motivated to check every coin carefully, because you never know when lightning might strike and turn a humble cent into a fortune. Welcome back to another deep and thrilling exploration into the fascinating world of coin collecting, where we uncover stories of ordinary-looking pennies that can actually be worth life-changing sums of money. And today our focus shifts to a coin that might seem unassuming at first glance but has proven to be one of the most desirable treasures for collectors who understand the power of errors and the stakes in minting. And that is the 1975 1-cent coin, which under certain extraordinary conditions has been valued as high as $700,000, a staggering figure for a coin most people would simply toss into their change jar without a second thought. But as we will see throughout this long journey, the reasons behind this immense value lie not only in the physical properties of the coin but also in the quirks of history, the mysteries of minting, the psychology of collecting, and the powerful forces of supply and demand that drive auctions into the hundreds of thousands. And just like with all our discussions, the purpose here is to invite you into the excitement, to make you realize that maybe hidden somewhere in your drawer, your wallet, or a jar passed down from a family member could be a 1975 penny that contains the very same qualities that make collectors go wild and bid enormous amounts of money for a single cent. Because the beauty of coin collecting is that it is both accessible to everyone and filled with endless surprises. To understand why the 1975 penny can be so valuable, we need to go back to that year and understand its context, for 1975 was a transitional time in the United States when the Lincoln cent, introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, had already become an iconic part of American currency. And millions of these coins were produced annually at the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints, with the familiar portrait of Lincoln designed by Victor David Brenner on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, but hidden within those millions of strikes were tiny mistakes, minting anomalies, and varieties that over time became recognized as treasures, and the 1975 penny stands out because of the kinds of errors that slipped through and survived, creating specimens that today can be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Among the most famous errors that elevate the 1975 penny's value is the double die error, a striking mishap that occurs when the die imprints the coin more than once at slightly different angles, producing doubling on key details like the motto, "In God We Trust," the word "Liberty," or the numerals in the date, and when these doubling effects are bold and dramatic, they create visual oddities that collectors covet, and while many minor double dies exist, it is the extreme, eye-catching versions that command massive premiums, especially when preserved in mint-state condition, and when authenticated and certified by trusted grading companies. Such coins can attract fierce competition at auction and climb into the six-figure range. Another important category of errors for the 1975 penny is off-center strikes, where the planchet, the blank metal disc used to strike the coin, was not properly aligned with the dies, resulting in a coin that has part of its design shifted off to one side, and the more dramatic the off-center, the greater the value, especially when the date is still visible, because the date proves the coin's year and origin. And collectors prize both the mistake and the identifiable markers, and when you find a 1975 penny with a large portion of the coin blank and yet still clearly showing 1975, you have a specimen that could be worth thousands or even tens of thousands, and when combined with other unusual factors like repunched mint marks or clipped planchets, the coin's uniqueness multiplies its value even more. Then there are wrong planchet errors, one of the rarest and most thrilling possibilities, which happen when a coin is struck on a blank intended for another denomination, such as a dime, a foreign coin, or an experimental piece. And in 1975 there were still occasional mishaps where cents were struck on dime planchets, resulting in thinner, smaller, and silvery pennies that confuse the casual observer but excite the trained collector, and because such pieces are incredibly rare, they have been known to sell for prices in the hundreds of thousands, and in fact, one of the reasons the 1975 penny is sometimes cited as being worth up to $700,000 is because of the convergence of such wrong planchet errors with pristine preservation and intense collector demand. And the truth is that when collectors compete for something they believe may be one of a kind, the final price is limited only by how badly they want to own it. Another fascinating element in the story of the 1975 penny's high value lies in transitional errors. Because during the 1970s the U.S. Mint was constantly adjusting metal compositions, planchet stocks, and production techniques, and while most 1975 pennies were struck on bronze planchets composed of 95% copper and 5% zinc and tin, there were occasional anomalies that slipped through, such as pennies struck on 1974 aluminum test planchets that had not been destroyed, and if a 1975 cent was mistakenly struck on one of these leftover aluminum blanks, it would create a near mythical rarity, light in weight, silvery in appearance, and absolutely priceless to collectors. And while extremely few, if any, confirmed examples exist, the mere possibility keeps collectors hunting, and drives the legend of the $700,000 penny further into the collective imagination. Beyond major minting errors, there are also subtle varieties that add to the desirability of 1975 pennies, such as repunched mint marks, where the D for Denver or S for San Francisco was punched more than once, creating doubled or tripled impressions that collectors of varieties pursue with passion. And these small quirks, while not commanding the same enormous prices as dramatic wrong planchet errors, still contribute to the coin's mystique and can bring premiums far above face value, especially when in high grades. Condition, of course, is another essential factor in determining whether a 1975 penny can approach the $700,000 mark, because collectors prefer coins in mint state condition, meaning they show no signs of wear and still retain their original luster, and when a coin with a spectacular error is also in flawless condition, it creates a perfect storm of rarity and desirability that can send bidders into a frenzy, and auction records prove time and again that condition is king in the numismatic world, because the difference between a circulated coin worth a few thousand and an uncirculated coin worth hundreds of thousands can be staggering, and the 1975 penny is no exception. But perhaps what makes the story of the 1975 penny so engaging is not just the technical aspects of errors and varieties, but also the human side, the dream that anyone could stumble upon such a coin in their pocket change, a jar of old pennies, or a collection passed down from a parent or grandparent, because history is filled with examples of rare coins turning up unexpectedly. And every time a story like that emerges, it inspires millions of others to look closer at their own coins, fueling a cycle of excitement that keeps the market vibrant and prices high. And it is this sense of possibility that makes the 1975 penny not just a coin but a symbol of chance, hope, and discovery. Collectors themselves play a huge role in driving the value, because collecting is not just about owning metal but about owning stories, history, and uniqueness. And when two or more passionate collectors compete for the same rare coin, the final hammer price can soar to levels that seem unbelievable to outsiders. But to those inside the hobby, it makes perfect sense. Because true rarity combined with collector passion creates a marketplace where even a penny can sell for the price of a house. And this is why the 1975 penny with extraordinary errors is often cited as being worth as much as $700,000. Another point to consider is that the Lincoln cent has a long tradition of being collected in sets, with enthusiasts seeking every date, every mint mark, and every known variety. So when a dramatic error from 1975 appears, it is not only a standalone treasure but also a missing puzzle piece in someone's master set, and completing that set gives the coin an added layer of desirability, pushing its value even higher, because collectors are driven not only by the coin itself but by the satisfaction of completing the chase. The rise of online marketplaces and major auction houses has also played a huge role in bringing coins like the 1975 penny into the spotlight, because decades ago a rare penny might have sold quietly in a small coin shop, but today the internet ensures global visibility, and wealthy collectors from around the world can bid against one another, driving up prices to unprecedented heights. And this is one of the reasons why the $700,000 figure is realistic, because when the right coin appears at the right time with the right audience, the price can go higher than anyone expected. Furthermore, the mystique of errors and mistakes resonates beyond just collectors, because it touches on something universal, the idea that imperfection can create extraordinary value, that a flaw in the process can give birth to something beautiful, unique, and priceless.